Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannon's Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannon's Club. Pace Farm, the enjoyable egg. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. And Gun Lake Quarries.
Time for Parks New South Wales now, at one of the most interesting locations in Australia. Throw in a couple of classic cars with a magnificent backdrop such as this. Now that's a tasty dish.
Central New South Wales, getting down amongst the canola fields, like a yellow painted ocean, majestically dropped over the fields. Around 3.5 million tonnes of canola are produced annually from Australia. And then, in the middle of a sheep paddock stands this, one of the most functional structures in the country, and it will leave you in awe. This is the CSIRO radio telescope in Parkes. It is a receiver only as it does not transmit signals. The 64-metre diameter parabolic dish is used for radio astronomy, built back in the golden era of 1961. Only its basic structure has remained unchanged. The surface, control system, focus cabin, receivers, computers and cabling have all been upgraded over time to keep the telescope current. It is now 10,000 times more sensitive than when first commissioned back in 1961. The moving part of the telescope weighs 1,000 tonnes, around 2 Boeing 747s. It can be pointed with an accuracy of better than 11 arc seconds. That's about the width of a finger at a reasonable distance away. In 1969, it was a prime receiving station for the Apollo 12 mission. During the 1970s, it played a similar role for the Apollo 12, 14, 15 and 17 missions, and was also called in to help during the emergency occurring with Apollo 13. It resides here in Parkes, New South Wales, right under our noses. Come and see it when you can. Memorial Hill is located on Bushman Street, Parkes. Memorial Hill provides the best vantage point for magnificent views over Parkes and the surrounding farmlands. It features a 33-metre high shrine of remembrance, representing a significant symbol of wartime history in Parkes, attracting many visitors each year to pay their respects to fallen soldiers. While you are there, you can also enjoy a leisurely bushwalk around the monument surrounds or a picnic in Rotary Park and Adventure Playground on the northern side of the hill. Then, of course, there's the dish. How cool is this at the Parkes Radio Telescope here in New South Wales? It's a big thanks to Joe Hemming, the Shannon's Regional Development Officer for this area, for tracking down this guy here. Good morning, Scott.
G'day, Fletch. How are you?
Great, mate. How are you?
Yeah, going all right, thanks. Yeah, going pretty well.
That's good. You loving your Monaro?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're nice cars.
It's a pretty special car, this one, only because they didn't really make many of them, did they?
No, I think they made about 1,438 from late 77, and I think through to early 79 they made a few. Yeah. And this one is a May 78.
And they're all special, but when you get to the category type car that those sorts of numbers were made, they're becoming like hen's teeth. What's the story? Where did you find her?
This one originally was sold from Canamble, and I think I'm around about the third owner. And it was actually sold in September 78.
1978 was an interesting time. Australian cars were pretty good. The high horsepower cars that we knew in Australia had dropped away, but other things came ahead. So these cars, they handled pretty well. Obviously the radial tune suspension, they had a good brake package, they were a comfortable car, they were finished nice, the interior is nice, and all round just a good rounded car.
Yeah. Well, these cars, they're four-wheel disc brakes, And I think the same as the HZ Statesman and the A9X Tirana. They had the four-wheel disc brakes, and the radial tune suspension was a big thing with the HZ. Yep. I've had a few HZs over the years.
The whole car is nice. It's beautiful at no matter what angle we stand. The painted front bar, the fiberglass work down front with the spoiler. You look along the line of the car, the panel gap on this car, Scott, is beautiful. Looking up this side here, it's there's no way in the world it would have left Holden any better than that. Taking us to the interior now, again, beautiful. The tartan inserts there, love that.
Yeah, I think I like that too. That was an option. They had in three different colours.
You might have a kilt at home in that same material, have you, Scott?
No, I don't think so.
You could be wearing it now. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's right. But this is a very original car. This car, it's very original. It
was approaching the end of an era, wasn't it? Yes. Very appropriately with the WB was to be released, and the WB obviously only going with a Statesman, a one-tonner, a Ute. Yes. And a panel van. That's right. Deciding to opt out. Must have been an incredible decision time for GMH at the time, choosing to go with the introduction of the Commodore, with the VB. We had Ford going with their European styling with an XD Falcon. It was also the last year of the Valiant. It had ran its course. Yes. We had the fuel crisis as well. Just a very interesting time, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, well, the Commodores were sort of coming out, and they were still making HZs kind of thing.
Back to underneath the hood. We talked about the engine there for a sec. Back to there. Beautiful engine bay, Scott. Attention to detail in every way. That's how it should look, in my opinion. In a car like this, you've got your 308, 5 litre sitting there. Beautiful, original air cleaner. Again, just like how it left the factory. And I just think that, without me banging on too much, it's 2020, and to see a car from 1978 like this is a true credit to you, and it's an exciting thing to see. Tell us quick about your car club.
The Central West Car Club, we have, I think, over 300 members, and a lot of different types of cars. Yeah. Some beautiful cars.
You're in a beautiful part of the state. How glorious is this? It's nice throughout New South Wales. It really is. The landscape changes, but the countryside around Parkes and Forbes, it's beautiful out here, isn't it?
Yeah, lovely, very nice, and especially after all this rain. Yeah. Look how green it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, thank you very much for your time. I believe you're a night shift worker, and you've got to go home and have a sleep.
Have a bit of sleep.
We're around about 20 odd k's just north of Parkes here at the Telescope. Wow, it's incredible. You've got to come to Parkes. Come to Parkes. Stay a couple of nights, or at least a night, or drive here for the day and back. You've got to see this telescope. It's big. It's equivalent to an acre in size inside the dish. It's that big. I can't even fit it in frame behind us on the interview here with the camera. It's incredible to think it's been there since 1961, and obviously too, the movie The Dish will give you a good insight into its history as well. Scott, thanks again.
Thanks, Fletch. Thanks I've really enjoyed it.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. I've always had a soft spot for HZ GTS. Out driving along the open road, there's nothing better like coming out here today to the Telescope in that HZ GTS. I hadn't driven it for a few months, and I had a ball. It's a very special thing to have a car like this, because there's no more Holdens anymore, and it's a great piece of Australian history to have something like this.
I've been a motoring enthusiast all my life. My Coupe 4 is rare and very special. A real performance car with all-wheel drive grip. I'm not a car club bloke, and I don't work on it myself, but I do have a great mechanic. One day, I might even get that HQ. When it comes to insurance, it's got to be Shannon's.
Shannon's shares your passion. Call Shannon's on 13 46 46. Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
Heron Forbes Machinery House has been family owned and operated for over 85 years, and it's easy to see why. Planning on welding? Look at these welding tables and clamps, air compressors and different air tools. sandblasting cabinets, through to spray guns. Everyone is welcome at Machinery House. There are competitive freight rates around Australia, and you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. So remember, Hare and Forbes has the range.
The Central West Car Club is basically around the Parkes area, but we have members as far afield as the Central Coast, the Southern Coast, Sydney, Condo, more locally, Condo, Cowra, Forbes, Dubbo. We have a wide net of members throughout New South Wales. We're one of the oldest car clubs in New South Wales. It was established in 1968 by members that had an interest in hill climb. This episode of Classic Revsto has a couple of cars from our car club, being a HZ Holden GTS and a Valiant. These are members of our car club, and they're two people that participate in a lot of activities to do with our car club. If you want to know more about our car club, don't hesitate to contact us, and we'd be happy for you to participate. Phone us or just leave a message through the websites or Facebook. We're happy for new members to come along and or people to come along and enjoy activities and become members in the future.
This Valiant here, a 1970 VG, you know what? It's one of those things where if you said to me I'm going to paint my car that colour, I might have thought to myself, no, I don't know if I would or not. But you've actually got to be here and see this car. The paint feels absolutely divine. It's like as though you've buffed it with baby powder.
Well, I didn't get the baby powder out on it, but I have buffed it and waxed it. I like to think that this is the colour that they should have painted Valiants. It's not a Valiant colour, it's a Holden colour. It's called Jindabyne Mauve. I've always liked the colour. When I started restoring the car, this was the whole colour scheme I had in mind. Yeah. The red wheels, the white roof, everything. So I'm pleased with it. I really like it.
You know, I'm big on my steel wheels. I love the steel wheels on classic cars. I like what you've done here. It's such a bizarre contrast, but it looks nice. And back to the colour here with the Holden colour, a 60s pastel colour, and I think that is very, very nice. So what inspired you to go the red wheels?
Yeah, look, I definitely wanted the red wheels from the very beginning. I kind of wanted that rock and roll look about it as well. It's not a hot rod, but that hot rod styling in a big long coupe. Yeah.
No, it's very, very cool. The interior is clean. I like that. It's very uncluttered. It's not molested in any way. It presents really well. Love the seats. The seats are really nice. That beautiful split bench there, that's unique.
Yes, definitely. Yep. And the colour inside, that was my other choice. It was always going to be a red interior. Not a fire engine red. You know, sometimes you say to people, I'm going to put a red interior in my car, and they have visions of this bright red. Yeah. It wasn't to be an eye-popping red. It was just to look like a red interior from the day.
Yeah. Offset too by the white roof. It's a nice car.
Yeah. Thank you. Again, in this age of a car, I really think a colour with a white roof pops. It looks good. Yeah. To me, it blends well with the white wall tyres as well.
Okay, now engine up front, we got the trusty 245 Hemi. Wow, what a good engine. The 245 has often been overlooked over the years in favour of the 265. The 245 and the VG, a fantastic package. It's a very good power to weight ratio. These were not a real heavy cars. The 245s, the ones that I've driven over the years, have done an exceptional job.
Yes, definitely. Look, I'm no mechanic. I don't do mechanical stuff well, but everything that I hear and read about Valiant engines for a start, they live, they survive, they go forever.
Mate, been a pleasure catching up with you.
No problems, Fletch. Yeah, my pleasure as well.
Yeah, well, and thanks for coming here to the Dish. It's of all the cool places in the country to turn up to with your classic car, mate, this would have to be in a list of 1 to 10, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and we appreciate you coming out here and seeing some of us out here. Yeah, yep.
That's okay. It's my pleasure. You keep on enjoying this Valiant, eh?
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun here today. As I turned up and the car was rattling, Fletch straight away says, "Better pop that bonnet. I think I know what's going on there." I couldn't hear the rattle, but he could. So, no tools in the car, of course. The belt needed tightening. I thought, yeah, okay, what can we do here? COVID restrictions, there's hand sanitizer everywhere. So I said, give me some of that stuff. He's got the hand sanitizer out, smeared a bit. I thought he was just going to wash his hands. He smeared it on the belt. Sure enough, the squeak's gone, stopped the noise. Perfect. For a 50-year-old car, it just, it lopes along. I remember the first time I drove it, you hear people talking about cars saying that it drove like a boat. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing, but it's big, it lopes along, it's got a big wheelbase, so that really adds to the comfort of driving it along. You get a fine day, you've got the windows down, you can just cruise along, whether it's on the highway or whether it's doing laps of the main street. I love driving this car. I'm happy to share it with people. It's a 6-seater, having a full bench across the front is great. So if I can load it up full of people, it's fantastic. We get it out at the Elvis Parade each year in parks. And yeah, you fill that car with people and it just puts smiles on my face, on the people who are in it. To have one of these cars in a modern day now, it's quite precious.
I spend a lot of time out here. The RT Charger's the real deal, an E49. Remember A-Charger? I've always got projects on the go, so Shannon's laid-up cover helps protect my restorations. I'm Mopar through and through. It's a passion Shannon's understands. I wouldn't insure my cars and bikes with anyone else.
Shannon's, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 13 46 46 for a quote.
Shannon's offer laid-up cover insurance. Insurance for your tools and memorabilia. Why not pick up the phone and give Shannon's a call for a quote and a chat on 134646. And keep in mind too that the Shannon's Club awaits you. For more information, visit shannons.com.au.
With me now, Joe Hemming, RDO, which doesn't mean rostered day off, the Shannon's Regional Development Officer for the Forbes area. How are you, Joe?
I'm really well, Fletch. How are you?
Great. I couldn't wait to get to this part of the day to interview you with your ute. The photos came through a couple of weeks ago. Look sensational. Wow, I really love this. This is glamorous. This is a show car.
It is. It's pretty personal to me, and it's got a lot of meaning. And yeah, it's my pride and joy.
Where did the level of creativity come from yourself? Was it all inspired by you?
Well, the creativity, sadly enough, wasn't done by myself, but the search to find something that was meaningful to me, yes, is something that was driven by myself.
This ute is amazing. Even in back, very, very original in terms of concept, how you've gone with EH sedan taillights instead of the traditional EJ taillights that used to go into the utes. Not only that, I love the two swage lines in the rear quarter from the sedan as well to meet and match those taillights.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. It's not something you see, that sort of fabrication sort of thing happening. So again, it was a draw card. So yeah, it's pretty special and it turns a few heads.
I can see why. Tell us a story of how you found it and any story relating to sitting in a paddock, or what's the history there?
Yeah, so the history of the ute itself was it came from a paddock, so it had a hay bale in the back of it, so rusted out that back area. So therefore they've had to chop it and add the additional part that we've the tail end.
Beautiful job. Now, the interior, Joe, you've just gone all out. It's absolutely gorgeous. We've got the two-tone there. Would it be safe to say ivory and turquoise?
Yes, that would be correct. Tartan turquoise is the colour, yes.
Dashboard painted the same as the outside. Beautiful colour combo. I love the gauges up on the dashboard there, the bright work under the dash. This is just one sensational EH ute.
Yes, it is. Like I said, it's pretty unique.
Yeah. Well, you're practicing what you preach as the Shannon's Regional Development Officer for this area. It's all about, I guess, encompassing the group of people, getting together, showing the vehicles, such a broad spectrum and a range of vehicles and bikes that are in the area. You're certainly leading by example with this one.
I hope so. I mean, there's plenty of car enthusiasts out in the area, and it's nice to get to know those people and to hear their stories and where their inspiration comes from. And their stories and how that all comes about and what it means to them, and the emotion that comes with owning a classic car because of the memories in their past and their parents' past, and to be able to have that connection with people is absolutely amazing. So
I love the history. I love hearing about where the cars were either sold or the original owners, or where did the car spend its life? What did it do? Did it do much work? You know, was it found under a tree? Has it been totally restored? All that stuff. That's what makes these stories, as you say. Now, you haven't messed around with engine either. You're no slouch there. We're not talking a red engine here in the standard 149 or 179 trim. You've gone all out, triple carbs, but on top of that, injected.
that's correct. It's a 186 XU1. Yeah, it's got the fuel injected, so it's got a bit of grunt. It likes to be driven hard, so.
You've done extremely well. I give you 10 out of 10 for this car. It is beautiful. It's not every day of the week you find a ute like this. We've had quite a few EHs on classic restos. Beautiful model Holden. They sold many of them right up until HQ. HQ bumped them off in sales. That was only because HQ ran a couple of more years in the series to be able to sell more. But the EH was top seller for Holden back in the time when Holden virtually had 50% of the car market here in Australia, which is that's pretty amazing when you stop and think that every second car on the road back then technically was a Holden.
Yes, it's pretty sad to see that the market's now gone. So I reckon if you've got a Holden in the garage, hang on to it and be pretty proud of what we've got.
And the thing is, as an extension of that, Joe, it doesn't matter what Holden you've got. It doesn't matter what make or model. If it's a Holden, that's full stop. If you've got something like that, well, same with your Falcons and your Valiants, all our Australian-made cars, they're just such prized possessions now, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes, without a doubt.
Good on you. All right, Joe, well, thank you very much for your time. I want to also take this opportunity to thank you for organising the people for today's episode Out at the Dish. How cool's that place?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great place to visit, and we get tourists out there all the time. So it's a credit to Parks that have that iconic landmark out there. Yeah, so thanks for coming along, Fletch. It's been awesome.
That's okay. We'll be back. All right, get to Parks when you can. And Forbes, great out here in central New South Wales. Again, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Fletch. So for Shannon's, I look after the Forbes Orange area. So it goes right out west as well. So probably about, you're looking at 10 events a year. So I have a few major events, which is includes Forbes, Parks and Orange Nublar. So they're pretty big events. Last year we had over 600 cars at one of the events. So that was pretty impressive. This ute means the world to me. So growing up as a young girl, my parents were speedway racers, and I used to get dragged around to all the car racing, and my dad had an EH sedan, and he sold it when I was allowed to get my licence, and he wouldn't let me have the sedan, so he sold it. And I was devastated, so I vowed that day, one day I'll get my own EH. So it took a couple more years since I got my L's to get my my own EH ute. So I got to do the circle and got the ute when my dad was still alive. Sadly, he's not here now, but he got to see the vehicle. He got to travel with me to go and pick it up. We trailed it all the way home from Melbourne. Yeah, the legend lives on. The interesting part about when I bought the car, doing one of our club events, I was surrounded by EHs, and I was going, yep, I've got to do this. I finally got to go ahead and purchase my own car. So I went on the search to find the ute, and was particularly looking for a sedan, and the ute was always in the background because I would like to own a ute, and found this particular one and it caught my eye. So I decided, you know what, I can have the sedan, I can have the ute and combine it and have two cars in one. So yeah, caught it on the internet and chased after it from there. It's really good to see more and more classic cars come about, and people have that drive to want to buy a classic car and get into that scene. It's a great atmosphere. People come together and share that passion. It's yeah, it's really good to see that involve and get bigger and bigger every year.
So when you can, come and see the dish here in Parkes, New South Wales. A special thanks to Joe Hemming, the Shannon's Regional Development Officer, for organising the people for this episode. Of course, Scott in his amazing GTS. We had Jeff with his 1970 VG Coupe, and of course Joe's car, her EH Holden. Until next week, no matter where you're watching Classic Restos from, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance, where you can be a member of the Shannons Club. Pace Farm, the enjoyable egg. Hare and Forbes Machinery House. And Gun Lake Quarries.